This generation of kids, the TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, digital generation, are struggling with resilience and mental health on a level that we've never seen because they are exposed to things that we never had to consider. But today, mistakes are captured on camera and they live on the internet forever, causing all kinds of stress and anxiety for this generation. Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sergeant Q, and with me, as always, Doc Jess.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here.
And today we have two special guests of this digital generation. Jess, you want to introduce them?
Sure. Today we have both of my girls. We have Autumn and Liberty.
And so how old are you, Autumn?
10.
10?
And I'm 16.
10 and 16. Wow. Pivotal ages. Do you guys have social media?
No.
Yes.
Oh, no, you don't?
I don't.
And you do. How old were you when you got social media?
Like 13, 12?
I think you got a Facebook at 14.
Yeah, I got a Facebook at 14.
Okay.
And just this year at 16, she got Instagram.
Yeah, that was...
Oh, IG. Oh, you lit up with IG. How is IG better than Facebook?
Because it's so trendy now and it has... I know a lot of people are like insecure about it, but I think Instagram for me, it has more security, like with
Okay.
the reels
Okay. All right.
and ads.
All right. So you have an Instagram. What do you use Instagram for mostly?
For my business.
Your bit.
Small business.
You have a small business.
Yes.
How did I not know this? What is your small business?
I thrift style bundles for people.
I did hear about this.
So, yeah.
Yes.
I have a business.
You're popping tags, thrifting bundles. That's awesome.
Just this morning, I was telling her, oh yeah, and Holly wants to show you what, because Holly was like, I want to show Liberty what I'm doing.
Yep.
Her little side hustle thing. And she goes, man, Aaron and Holly, they're hustlers. That's probably why you guys are such good friends, because I'm a hustler. Yeah, always got some kind of side hustle going on.
Always, always, always. And what Holly's going to do with that side hustle, we haven't promoted it. We're spending an entire year building out the business model, and then we're going to launch it and then teach it. The true business is not the hustle. The true business is going to be teaching other people the hustle. And so that's why Holly wants to teach you to see if you can pick up some of these skills and what the results are. And so you don't have any social media at all, do you, Autumn? No?
Remember to use your voice.
Oh, no.
No? Okay. So you don't have any social media, but do you get on mom's social media?
I do have this thing where it's an app that does like kid safe videos from YouTube and puts it on a app. So I can still watch them, but it's safe ones.
So yeah, you watch social media. So every time we upload a video here, we have to check that box. Was this made for kids? No. There's all kinds of safeguards. So I know exactly from a creator perspective on what that looks like to create a video for kids. If I say it's for kids, there's all these other things that I got to do. So that way it can go into that algorithm, into your safe mode. So I know exactly what that is. I do not make videos for kids. It is a lot more work, for sure. All right, so social media. All right, Doc Jess, why did you decide to limit their capability with social media? Because so many parents don't do that. They just, here you go.
Interesting. I just watched a press conference of Australia banning social media for kids under 16.
Yeah.
And I think that's brilliant and amazing and wonderful. Social media, right? It's something that I would call amoral, kind of like a dollar bill. Money isn't necessarily good or bad. It's what you do with it. There's wonderful things you can do with social media, sure. But if we're talking about human growth and development and these pivotal moments in human growth and development in people's lives, a 10-year-old isn't going to have the cognitive ability to separate certain ideas and pressures and boundaries as an 18-year 4-year-old. Still probably isn't very good at it yet, but it's our job as parents to protect our children from unnecessary baggage, right? And I talk a lot about these pivotal moments in human growth and development where 90% of the clients that sit across from me and need counseling for mental health issues could be avoided with proper nurturing in certain stages of human growth and development. And a lot of kids are developing this anxiety and depression from unchecked, no boundaries around social media. And so their parents bring their kids into me and say, "Oh, my kid's experiencing anxiety and depression." I get them for 1 hour a week when there's 168 hours in a week, and they just want me to fix their kid. And within 2 or 3 sessions, I know that it's not something I can help with unless we bring the whole family in. So I bring the whole family in and I say, this is something that is not going to be fixed with counseling. This is going to be something that needs to be fixed at home. And we're talking boundaries around screen times. So it's the pressures of it. You know, the people that have courage to say things behind a screen that don't have courage to say it to your face. It happens all the time in these chat rooms, Discord, Instagram, Snapchat, all these things. And adolescents already are searching for identities. A big common theme we see is these kids that love these fantasy worlds where they can go to these chat rooms and pretend to be somebody that they're not, and they make up these whole identities, and it's terrible for them because I don't know how to articulate this without going down too far of a rabbit hole, but
The way I look at this is just on a purely fundamental brain operation, which is dopamine production.
yes.
Your brain is designed to crave dopamine. When you get dopamine, it makes you happy. When you accomplish something like I did this, it makes me happy. I want to do it again. I want to try harder. I want to try and do something bigger and better. It's exactly what dopamine was for. Because back when we were hunting animals for food, because you didn't have a safe way, you had to go out there and sharpen a stick and then go chase down an animal that's the same size as you. It's pretty scary. But the chase and bringing that animal back gave you dopamine production, which then gave you the courage to do it again and again and again and again and again. So you had to accomplish this goal. You had to go find the right stick, dopamine. You had to sharpen it. Yep, that's sharp, dopamine. You saw the deer, dopamine. You chase the deer, dopamine. You take the deer down, dopamine. Now you bring back this animal to the tribe, dopamine and serotonin. These are chemicals that your brain gives you to motivate you to accomplish a task that's very difficult. But in our society, we've made it so easy to get dopamine now because you don't have to really accomplish a true goal. Every time you hear an alert or a ding on your phone, oh, I've got to check it. Because when you open that phone, dopamine. When you scroll and see somebody commented or liked your photo or video, dopamine, you feel good. When you post something and people don't like it, you feel bad because you didn't get that dopamine that you were expecting. When you scroll on your phone, dopamine. Every time something new pops up, dopamine. A post you haven't seen, a video you haven't seen, dopamine. So you're able to get this dopamine now that your brain is addicted to without actually accomplishing a goal. And that's where I see it being the most damaging, is because now they're addicted to this thing that is not safe for them. Because instead of going out and accomplishing a goal and getting dopamine, you can just get it from that screen.
Well, and it's also detrimental to building their resilience.
That's exactly right.
And so I get teenagers, 13, 14, and say, oh, I have anxiety, I have depression. And as we pull apart the onion layers, I say, honey, that's not depression. That's called sadness.
Mm-hmm.
And your parents, I don't tell them this, but us as parents, right? It is hard to see our kids sad. It's hard to see our kids struggle. There's no doubt about that. And they need to feel those things to learn how to properly build resilience and grit to work through them and come out the other side stronger. Just because you feel nervous doesn't mean you have anxiety. Nervousness is a very normal emotion and feeling. And it, right? And this is why I make my kids do sports, especially my sweet Liberty, who is a people pleaser and doesn't like to fail, a perfectionist, right? Because she needed to feel those butterflies and that anxiety and push through it. And afterwards, oh, she'd be like, oh, that was so fun, right? The dopamine comes.
The dopamine comes. Yeah.
And parents are becoming, in these generations, right, less and less resilient at being able to push through and watch their kids go through hard things. And they just try to protect them from it. So I get these kids in and say, I have anxiety and depression. No, you have sadness and nervousness, but this is the first time in your life you're experiencing it. And so you don't know what to do with it. And so, not to put all blame on parents, but that's, yes, I put all blame on parents up until a certain extent, right? Once you become an adult and you recognize these things about yourself, then it becomes your responsibility to, what am I going to do with this from here on out? But there's been so many times that I have, right? I, as a mental health professional, wanted to save my kids from being uncomfortable. So I used to coach girls soccer, and I would take my girls to practice sometimes, and Liberty was shy, and she was like,
You're being outed right now.
yeah. Liberty was really shy, and it was right after COVID, right? And so everything was shut down and everybody was more comfortable just kind of isolating. And she had a tablet or something that she wanted to play on instead of in the car, instead of coming out to the practice and interacting with these teenage girls. And she was probably 12, 11 or 12. And so the 15, 16, 17-year-old girls are a little intimidating at that age. And so she said, Mom, can I just stay in the car and play on my tablet or whatever? And my first instinct as a mom wanted to say, yeah, go ahead, because I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. But then I was like, nope, she needs to go out there and she needs to learn to have conversations that are uncomfortable and to feel uncomfortable. And so I made her go out there, and she ended up having a good time. And the girls were like, oh, you're so pretty. Oh, I love your hair. And like, she got that interaction by getting outside of her comfort zone. And that was a moment I could have chosen to protect her from being uncomfortable or push her out of her comfort zone. And parents, I feel for you. I know that instinct to want to protect our kids. But other times, like when we want to protect them from feeling sad. And so we tell them that, oh, well, your cat went to go live on a farm. No, your cat was run over. And you need to process through the feelings of being hurt and sad.
The strength comes in the struggle. So another way to look at it is that if your son or daughter wanted to go into gymnastics or wanted to go into something strength, bodybuilding, something strength related, and you took them to the gym and they were struggling to put that bar up on the rack. And instead of watching them struggle, you decide to just grab it and set it on the rack. Every single time they push it up, you would just help them and set it up there. They're never going to get strong that way. It's the strength comes in that struggle. And what happens, and it happens the same way in your brain as it does in the muscle, is that as you're doing that, it's painful, it's difficult, it is sometimes discouraging as you're trying to push that bar up. But what's happening is there's tiny little tears that are happening in your muscle fiber, and you're tearing that muscle down. And then it comes back and it has to heal. It becomes resilient. It heals stronger than it was before. That's what happens in your muscles. When you're working out, you're tearing little tiny fibers inside your muscles. And when they grow back bigger and stronger. So it's not as hard next time. That is mental resilience, or as we call it, grit. It's that ability to do something difficult, have those brain structures fracture a little bit because it's difficult. You're creating new neural pathways that are going to be stronger later. Another way I like to share it with people is that it's not what you've learned about how to deal with trauma, it's unlearning it. That's really, really important. Great example of this, if you've ever driven on a dirt road, you notice that these logging roads, they have ruts in them where everybody has driven for a long time and it creates ruts. And when your tires fall into those ruts, you're stuck there. It's really difficult to get the car out of those ruts. So you just follow where that path takes you. It's the same way inside of your brain. Inside your brain, you have these ruts, these neural pathways that you've used over and over and over again. And a lot of times they're called negative coping skills, where I feel uncomfortable, so I'm going to go drink a beer. I feel uncomfortable, so I'm going to go eat food. I feel uncomfortable, so I'm going to avoid these people or this situation. And so your brain has learned how to do that to avoid that discomfort. Now, a lot of people think they have to get out of that rut. Oh, I've got to get out of the rut. They say it all the time. It's never going to work because that rut is still there, and you may get out of it for a minute, but you're going to fall right back in. The better way to do it is to build a new rut. Build a new neural pathway to something positive. It's going to be difficult because you've got to dig it. You've got to create it mentally in your mind. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a discipline to do this thing every single day. And you've got to continue to do it over and over and over again until that rut is stronger than the old one. And here's the thing, it works both ways. So the more you use that new neural pathway means the less you're going to use the old one. And the less you use it, the more it's going to deteriorate and it's not going to be there anymore. That rut will go away. That neural pathway will stop working. When you create the new one, that's the one your brain will take. And the old one, its strength will start to deteriorate. And that is how you rewire your brain. That's how you become resilient. That's how you create grit.
Yes. And that's for like such a good point of unlearning and relearning for those of us who are older. And I'm going to capitalize on this opportunity to speak to you parents and you kids that if you do it right, parents, when they're younger, you can help your kids build those ruts in different ways so they don't have to unlearn things later and relearn new things. With intentionality, education, hard work. And so that's why I choose to do harder things with my kids, say, than the average millennial parent, because I see the damage it does when we don't push them to do those hard things and how much harder they're going to have to work later in life to accomplish things and to be successful and to have good emotional regulation and to have limited anxiety and depression and learning that sadness and nervousness is a normal part of life and how to not create it into this monster that it doesn't need to be.
It's funny, you are the millennial parent. I'm the Gen X parent.
I'm like right on the cusp.
Yeah. I'm more of that hardline parent because that's all I knew. These discussions, these talks didn't exist. Nobody was talking about this when I was a kid. This was not even a subject that was brought up. Mental health wasn't even a term that was used. It was that person's crazy or they belong in the loony bin.
Yeah.
Like that was it. That was the mental health talk. Like that was all that was discussed. Nothing about resilience, brain function, positive and negative coping skills. None of that was even in the societal vernacular, which means normal discussions. It was not in normal everyday discussion about anything like this. So as much as you guys are growing up in the digital age and it's difficult, you also have all of these amazing tools right at your fingertips. And these discussions are starting to happen. So I have great hope for your generation is that if parents can give you access to these tools or you can find them on your own, there are no limits for what you can do. When I figured this out, I'd never been exposed to any of this stuff. 17 years ago, I first started getting exposure to this. And I learned that these were not new problems. These are problems that every generation has dealt with since we've been recording time. And it's all written in the Bible. It was amazing. And to your point earlier, you talked about parents not making things too easy for their kids. And it reminds me of the Bible, of the two brothers, the one who wanted his inheritance and left and just went and lived this crazy worldly life. And the dad was heartbroken over it, but he didn't chase after him. He didn't go find him and make things easy and let me give you more money, let me give you this or that. He just sat and waited. And when the son had made enough mistakes, he decided to come back. And then the father welcomed him back in. But he didn't go and make it easy for him. He didn't go and make things comfortable for him. he allowed him to suffer in that discomfort until he said, this is too much. I'm going to go back to what I know is safe and correct. So we're talking about grit and resilience. And so I want to ask you two, what is grit and resilience? And Autumn, we'll start with you. What does grit and resilience mean for you?
It means even if something's hard and you mess up and mess up again, you don't just give up and make stuff easier. You keep going until you do it or you get success.
That's a really good definition. What about you, Liberty? What does grit or resilience mean for you?
Grit and resilience means, for me, is when you fail, but you use it as a stepping point rather than a burden and a boulder that you carry on your shoulder, and something that where you learn from your struggles and trials and error rather than putting yourself down for it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We should just let them do an episode.
Can you take a second and reflect on maybe a time in your life that you realized you were building resilience through something hard? Can you give us an example?
Piggybacking on what you were talking about being uncomfortable. One time that I can remember you challenging me to go through an uncomfortable situation was when I was supposed to go to track in my public school high school, and I did not want to go to this public school track team, and I was very intimidated. But I remember you reminding me that the uncomfortableness that I was going through would later bring benefits to me to understand that this is a regular feeling that I'm feeling and that I need to overcome it for the future. And so when I was self-aware of my uncomfortable feelings, I tried to remember that this all helps me in the long run. And so that's a time where I had to develop resilience with my feelings.
Do you remember how angry at me you were going through it?
No.
No? Yeah.
I was really angry.
Yeah. And that's normal.
I remember it.
Right? And that's normal. And through that, I had to be okay with those feelings of hurt or pushing back, right? Because I knew she would get on the other side someday and see a little bit of benefit. And there still might be some anger right now. But eventually, because I can look back at times that I had to go through something hard and I saw on the other side the benefit from it, right? And so as parents, like, it's okay for your kids to be angry at you for a little bit. What about you, Autumn? Do you remember a time where you did something hard and accomplished it and looked back at the growth that you got from it?
When I first started school, I used to be like super bad at not super bad, but I would struggle with reading and spelling. But now I look at what I am now, and it's a lot better.
So what are some things that you did that helped you overcome that? To help you with your spelling and reading?
Instead of giving up on reading and just being like, okay, it's boring, I don't want to do it anymore, I give up. My mom helped me with it because she would tell me to like read 30 minutes every day, and it just helped me with.
What did you like to read?
I would read like some of the smaller books that like most people would just do for like little story times and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like I would get
What's your
like-
favorite one of those books? Your favorite story? Which one comes to mind?
I used to really like Fancy Nancy.
Fancy Nancy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that too.
I loved.
Another really great tool for that, side note for parents who might have neurodivergent kids or with dyslexia, which is ADHD and dyslexia here, is finding books that they're interested in that they could listen to the audiobook
And
while reading. and they learn confidence through that as they're reading along with it. And then it builds more of a desire to want to read because they're not just reading and it's boring, they're listening to it as well. And so just kind of getting creative with stuff like that.
And one of the things I did for Austin when he struggled with this was I found something he was interested in. This is what you said, to your point, Calvin and Hobbes, the comic books.
Yep.
And so I tried all these different things and like, well, let's try and read this. Let's try and read this. Let's try and read this. And finally we found Calvin and Hobbes. He really liked it. And so that would be his reading. It's okay. Just read that. Read, 3-4 pages of that. But it took time and he had to try all these different things before he found the one that worked. And that's resilience. You may not get it right the first time. You may not get it right the second, third, fourth time. But as long as you don't quit, you don't give up, you will find something that works. And that is true for kids and for adults. And what I see a lot of adults doing is saying, oh, I tried that, didn't work for me, so I'm just going to set a boundary. And their boundary means that they're just not going to try ever again. And so they paint it as if this is a positive coping mechanism as I'm setting a boundary. But what they're really doing is copping out so they don't have to grow. And so that is a balance that adults I see now doing, is that they don't have that balance in their life of what is a good, safe, healthy boundary and what is avoidance. And I see that a lot in this adult generation right now.
And this generation that's like, right, it's a great thing that we're talking about mental health and it's safer to talk about it, but it also can go on the pendulum on either side to where everything's mental health.
Yes.
Everything's a boundary when that's not safe or healthy or good for you either. Yeah, so we're talking about boundaries, and Sergeant Q and I talk a lot about what a real healthy boundary looks like and what a avoidance cop out for mental health boundary looks like. So a lot of the times people will cut off a relationship when it gets hard and say, I'm setting a boundary, when really you're just refuse to have a hard conversation and work through some things with somebody because there might be some self-reflection that needs to happen or accountability. And so now we're throwing around these mental health words like I'm setting a boundary when in reality you're avoiding accountability or doing something hard.
Something that comes to mind when we're talking about boundaries is people pleasing. As someone who struggles with people pleasing, it's really hard to not make excuses like that, to where we don't want to confront to people the real problems.
That's a good point.
And we make excuses that can either be to the extreme, like what you're talking about. That might be what a lot of couples can suffer with, especially with passiveness, when you forget to tell them the truth and confront them even though it's uncomfortable.
So you are 16 now.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of responsibility. You serve in the church, you play on worship, you're driving, you take care of this one from time to time, I'm quite sure. Right, Autumn? You have a job, that's right. So you have a lot of responsibilities. But you're also exposed to a lot of different people out there in the world. And so thinking of how you grew up, it's unfortunate, but you didn't grow up with a typical parent. You have a mental health counselor as a parent. Yeah. So you have a lot more access to information and understanding of these things than the average person does, who's probably 2 or 3 times your age. What is that like, being in the world and knowing all of this stuff and recognizing that that's not common, the knowledge that you have?
It's like eating a bunch of candy, but then after that eating a healthier version or a more healthier version. When you're spoiled like that mentally, it's hard to watch people mentally decline, even though you're like, oh my gosh, I can tell you why what's wrong and what's happening. But in this society, you can't just go up to someone and tell them what they're doing wrong. And so, like, especially with friends, like with parenting, like my mom works hard on her parenting. She has a lot of research. And so when looking at not not comparing, but looking at these parents who haven't done their research and just parent how they want to parent because that's how they were raised, it's really difficult to see their children act in a way that we know that the parents could have avoided.
Mhm.
And so being exposed to knowing that can be a little bit frustrating, but also really beneficial because I know what I'm going to do with my kids and I know what will be beneficial to them. And I know um, how to mentally prepare them because of my mom's research and time that she put into us.
And this is very generational because you had great parents and role models.
And
growing
that's
up.
okay. That's what I was gonna interject here. It didn't start with my mental health career.
Mm-mm.
It started way before that, right?
Mhm.
And we had the privilege of my husband and I just did a marriage seminar, and we ended it with a Q&A time with my parents. And they've been married 47 years and a very healthy, beautiful marriage, 2 healthy kids who love and serve Jesus now, and grown kids. And one of the questions was, how did you come together and stay united in rearing of your children? And both of my parents came from incredibly dysfunctional, broken homes. So they're first generation healthy, kind of like you and Holly,
Mhm.
right? So they had such a great point that we all came together to kind of look at and say, this is a really good point. Is they decided early on, because my mom was 18 when they got married, my dad was 20. We don't want to be those parents.
Mhm.
So we're starting fresh and learning together new. And as we were unpacking this, you look at every area of your life and you're constantly learning and growing, continuing education for your career, for your trade, for your specialty, for your religion, for your job, for everything else in your life, you're constantly learning and growing, except for parenting.
Mhm.
When I ask parents, what classes have you taken on parenting or what books have you read on human growth and development and different stages of parenting? 99 out of 100 parents say, I haven't. So it's the one area in your life that you aren't challenging yourself to grow and learn, but it's the most important part of your children's life for you to be doing that. And so, though, yes, I have a degree in mental health, 90% of my parenting expertise comes from before I even went to college in books that I read and sought after and podcasts that I watched because I knew how important it was for my kids' well-being for me to be as intentionally growing as to be as intentional as I could as a parent because I know that those early years of their life is going to determine the rest of their lives. So, yes, I have a degree and yes, I have some research which is helping as well, but I started reading these books the moment I found out I was pregnant with Liberty 17 years ago, and I never stopped learning. And so you don't have to be a counselor to be a good parent.
And I wanted to make the point that it's generational. Like you just heard the wisdom that came out of Liberty at 16. Her ability to see the world in a totally different way and see how she operates at a different level. And the reason she operates at a different level is because her parents poured into her. And the reason that Jessica operates at a different level is because her parents poured into her.
Yeah.
So it has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You may be the first generation of parents that are learning these things and applying them. And it's going to be even harder for you because nobody has shown you the way. And so you're learning all these things brand new. And you don't have good parents or role models to look back on. That could be your story. That was my story. And I had to start somewhere. And I started later in life for my kids, but I gave them as much as I could of what I was learning as I was learning it, which gave them a head start for when they become parents, and they can then take this knowledge and build upon it to become better parents than I was.
Yeah. And I say it all the time, dysfunction breeds dysfunction. But just as much as dysfunction breeds dysfunction, learning and growing and resilience can breed learning, growing, and resilience.
So there's 3 things that we love to do here on the Mental Health Janitors. We love to educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. And so, what words of encouragement do you two have for the audience about the benefits of developing resilient kids? Because you are the product of that. So what advice do you have for people out there watching on the result of building resilient kids? What has it meant for you?
Advice and encouragement that I have for especially parents who are starting to teach and discipline their kids in a resilient way is to stay consistent and remember that your kids are still trying to gain independence and they're also going to be really mad sometimes or really upset with you. And just remember that you're not their friend. They are your children. And like me, I have stories of how many times I've been so mad at my mom with her strict parenting, but now that I look back and I know and I see the fruit that has come from it, it it just blesses my life all the time. And so your kids might be mad at you from a time or for a season, but the outcome will be extraordinary. And they will bless your life because of the amount of discipline and effort you put into them.
That's such a good point because my kids are such a huge blessing to me. Both Billy and I, we don't even like going on vacation without them. Most people are like, we got to go on vacation to get away from our kids, and we go on a couple, and we're like, this sucks without them because they're such a blessing to our lives.
What about you, Autumn? What advice do you have for parents out there?
What my sister said, consistency, being consistent with discipline and things that, let's say, your kids deliberately, is that how you say? Deliberately disobey, instead of saying this is your one chance, be more consistent, because your kids will, when you're not consistent, they'll probably get even more mad at you because they're like, you didn't do this last time, you didn't punish me for this last time. And when you do discipline them every single time they do something, they'll know that that's something that they will get punished for. And it's just, what's the word for it? A lot more structured and easier for them too.
That's a great point, Autumn. And it goes right back to those ruts that we were talking about, those neural pathways. Kids thrive in structure, which you're creating neural pathways. They know, hey, if I do this, this is going to be the result every single time. It's not going to be chance after chance after chance. This is what's going to happen. And so they learn what their left and right lateral limits are. They learn what their safe boundaries are. And so it's a lot easier for their brain to operate when they understand the consistent boundaries. Nobody likes when somebody moves the goalpost. When your boss says, hey, if you get 10 sales this month, you're going to get an extra bonus. And then he changes it and says, oh, we're going to make it 11 sales. Nobody likes when you move the goalposts. Even more so with your kids, because their brains are just starting to develop, just starting to create these neural pathways. So our advice to you is be consistent, use structured discipline. For the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sergeant Q.
I'm Doc Jess.
I'm Autumn.
And I'm Liberty.
And we're out.